I wish more people bet on themselves and align their time and money investing in their greatest asset, which is their ability to create value and earn money.
Welcome back to another episode of Wealth Easy, where we talk all things wealth, health, and real estate. Today, folks, I've got a real treat for you. My guest today is the founder of BetterWealth, author of the book, The And Asset, and host of the BetterWealth Show. Please welcome to the show, Caleb Guilliams. Welcome to the show, Caleb.
And it's a pleasure to be here, man. It's awesome to be here.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to have you on because we've been trying to connect for a while, and we both have really busy schedules, and we were able to connect last month down in Hollywood, Florida at Tom Wall's event. And it was really great to connect with you. And we were able to make this, arrange this. So I'm really happy to have you on. So for my listeners, I mean, you're down in Nashville, and I love Nashville. My mentor, and you actually just had him on your show last week, Trent Fortner.
Yeah. Trent's great.
My mentor.
Trent's great. I've been here 3 years, and very much love it down here. Yeah. I was closer to your neck of the woods in America. It was in Wisconsin, so it was a lot colder this time of the year as we're recording. But grateful to live here in Nashville.
Yeah, and I actually discovered I have family. My sister's down there. My uncle, my father was down. He lived down in Nashville, so I get down to Nashville quite a bit. I was actually just there last Sunday. Just came in for a day.
Awesome.
My stepmother had her retirement party, but I do come in quite frequently. So love Nashville. So for my listeners, I mean, you've been in the business in the insurance and advisory business for some time now, since you were like 19. But give my listeners a 2-minute bio on yourself.
Yeah. So I grew up in Wisconsin. I worked at a bank when I was 17. Got licensed in insurance when I was 18, and I got to work in our investment department as the investment assistant. And then when I was 19 years old, the person that was running the bank's investment department took a different job. And at 19, I ended up taking over the entire investment department division, which is kind of crazy looking back. I'm like, what in the world were they thinking? I just think like the cliche, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care is a truism. And I think people just saw that I genuinely wanted to do the right thing. And so I got this awesome opportunity. And that I leveraged that platform to reach out to people that could help pour into my life, Trent being one of them. And it's amazing over, a couple of years, I actually did exactly what you're doing, is started a podcast and started interviewing people because it was like a great excuse to connect with amazing people that had no business talking to me just in a meeting. And from there, started gaining connections and started my business when I was 21. I'm 30 now, so I guess I've been doing that for 9 years, which is wild, coming up on 10 years of running the business. And just was fascinated with efficiency. And I felt like life insurance was super misunderstood. And if people understood the power of the contract and what it could do for them, I did feel like there was going to be a line outside the door. And so instead of trying to convince you or try to sell you, it's like all we got to do is educate. And if we can educate someone about the outcomes and results, why wouldn't they want to work with us or at least be interested in talking with us? And so that's the premise of the bio. And I grew up in Wisconsin, lived in Denver for a few years, and now home is in Nashville. And it's been a lovely journey, lovely up and down journey, I'll say, over these last 9 years.
Yeah. Your first job was processing chickens. And which sparked a curiosity about how ordinary people, well, that sparked a curiosity with you about how ordinary people get wealthy. What did you see there?
Yeah. So I'm sorry for any of your audience who are vegans, but my very first official job, I had a couple other jobs before that, but my first official job was working at a chicken processing plant where we would get a chicken after it was depulucked and dead. Yeah. And then we would we'd gut it and cut off the neck and all, and get it ready for like when you see a chicken in the grocery store. I have a great appreciation for what goes into that. And so I started, I was 15 when I first got a job there, and I made $1 for every chicken that I processed. And so number one, I think it's Charlie Munger said, show me an incentive, I'll show you an outcome. And
Hmm.
so number one, motivating just to work hard because you're making money. And then you're starting to make money. And I think it's sometimes hard to get somebody to value something they don't
Hmm.
have skin in the game. And so I'm making money, and I obviously I didn't necessarily know what being rich even meant, but I desired to learn how to like I don't again, I struggle with even language because I don't even know what I was thinking at 15 years old, but
Hmm.
I wanted to be efficient. I wanted to be a good steward. I think I was probably more afraid of losing money. So I wanted to kind of like make sure that every year went by, I had more. And that got me very curious about how other things work. I started listening to books and um, reaching out to people. And that's kind of when I started my journey of like getting to know people. And then through that, working at the chicken farm, I met an individual who got me a job at a bank, and that was also really powerful because I'm like, one conversation got me this job. Like the power of relationships is
Hmm.
insane. Um, and so all that to say, it's funny as I just reflect as I'm talking to you now. One call, we host our annual life insurance event every year in June. One sponsor, I'll make more in a sponsorship than I made all summer working at the chicken farm kind of deal.
Wow.
And but it's just shows you that relationships compound. And when I say it's obviously the event is a net neutral, but it's just amazing how the power of relationships. It's like it's something I'm very grateful for, and try hopefully never to take for granted.
Well, I remember I was at your conference when you lived in Denver. I was at
Yeah.
that conference, and when you talk about relationships and meeting people, what a great networking event that was. And I think back then, that was a few years ago, there was maybe 100, maybe you might have about 100 people there, and I met some great advisors from across the US. And now you're getting what, 300-400 people to these
Yeah, we'll have
conferences?
250 to 300, and and that's with nothing crazy happening. We're very, I mean, the lineup so far is insane, and that's exactly what I'm trying to foster is create an environment where amazing people can connect. I think people can see, especially winners, can see other winners, and they can spot out those type of people versus maybe the people that don't don't necessarily care about our profession and industry. And so it's fun to see where 1 + 1 equals more than two. And that's my goal. And when I try to get a speaker, try to foster, connections and relationships, is how do I know that this is gonna provide more value than we're asking for? And so far so good. And I'm pumped for this year. So I do appreciate you showing up and supporting what we're up to. And it's gonna be a fun year this year.
Well, I saw you got a couple great lineup of speakers. I just noticed that you just got David McKnight, author of Power Zero, read his
Yep.
book, it's fantastic. You just got the author of Pirates of Manhattan.
Yep.
That's a book that is on my list to read. And I love these conferences because I foster great relationships, and I got people like you that we've met. We met at Garrett Gunderson's home in Utah a couple years ago, and met some great people, fostered some great relationships, got them on my show, and we actually we have a friendship now. So it's wonderful to go to these conferences and network and foster really great relationships. You know, you walked away from a very prestigious banking position to start BetterWealth at 21 out of a Papa John's basement. You know, most people at that age are worried about just paying rent. What gave you that conviction to bet on yourself?
It's a great question. I am a big fan of TED Talks. It's
Hmm.
one of the reasons why I run the event. The way I run it is short talks.
Hmm.
I think you can get a lot in 15 to 20 minutes. And I watched a couple talks. Simon Sinek's, obviously, I'm a big fan of the Start with Why concept. But I remember listening and watching a TED talk around risk and how interviewing older people, one of the things that they would regret is not taking more risk. And I'm pretty aware that I'm going to die someday, and everything that we work on is going to fade away. That's a whole nother conversation. I'm constantly reminding myself that life is really short. I have a clock over here that gives me statistically how long I've lived. I developed an art piece that I can look at to just
Oh,
visually see how many boxes, which represents years of my life I've already lived. And I do that to try to live as intentionally as possible, but it also reframes my thought of risk. So I share this all because even before, I had this stuff, even at 20 years old, 21 years old, I had this like sense of like, I am terrified of regret. I'm like so afraid of looking back on my life and saying, I um, played it easy. I took the easy route. I didn't go for it. And I realized that the biggest thing that I could lose is a hit to my ego and just failing. In America, I'm not sure with Canada. In America, they don't throw you in jail for going out of business or going bankrupt. And so I was thinking, okay, I'm young. I'm still living at home. I have this dream, and I kind of realized that the longer I go doesn't necessarily make it easier to make the jump. It's like if you get married, have a family, get a mortgage, like all of those things are now extra friction to making it. And so I was like, it was probably crazy at the time. I look back, I'm like, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what I was thinking, but I was like, you know what? I had $20,000 in the bank. I was living at home. I had this vision and dream. And I was just like, what's the worst that's going to happen? I fail. Makes a hell of a story. I didn't think about that in that term, but I was just like, now I'm like, when people talk about risk, I'm like, dude, you have an amazing talk. Now you have like a built-in story that you don't even have to make up. Like the people would die for that. And I wasn't even thinking about that. I was thinking, okay, worst case scenario, am I willing to have my ego take a hit? And best case scenario is doors I couldn't even dream what was possible. And that's what happened. And I will say the first couple of years financially were not a success, but they built the foundation to where we are today. And I'm grateful for designing my life really, really lean. If I had to give advice to anyone starting anything meaningful, make your lifestyle as low as possible and don't cut corners. That will compound. And it's happened in my life, and I see it all the time. And vice versa, I see people that might have a great idea, are 10 times more talented than I was, and yet they need to make something happen fast. And so they end up cutting corners. People can feel it. They can smell it. It also is a part of their identity, and they self-sabotage. And a lot of times, and then there's always a person that will prove me wrong to say, hey, I needed to make money in 30 days and I figured it out, and I wouldn't be here if I wasn't put in that situation. So I'm all about like whatever your reality is, your perspective matters. But I do think it's really, really important that I got into this business for the right reason. I'm not motivated by money today, was not motivated by money early on, but was motivated by significance and success. And I wanted my younger self to be proud of what I was building, and I wanted to add more value than I was asking for. And so in a lot of cases, the journey there's a lot of lessons that I've learned. We can go into some of those lessons if you'd like, but I look back and I'm grateful for just staying in business, because after a few years in business, things got a little bit easier and things started clicking, and we're doing a lot. I wouldn't have dreamed. We're making more in a month now than I made the first couple of years in business. And I'm just, I share that not to brag. I share that just as like my younger self would be so mind blown by what happens over time. And I feel like I'm 30 years old. We're just getting started, and I'm gonna hopefully these next 10 years continue to compound what we've built the first 9.
Hey everyone, it's John. I just wanted to thank you for being here, and I would ask that you please subscribe to the show by just clicking the subscribe button right here. I'd really appreciate it. It helps grow the show so we can get even more successful guests on the program to help you. If you're already subscribed, a huge thank you. When you subscribe, you're going to get access to the program before anybody else does. So if you would, just click subscribe right here. Thanks so much, and welcome back to the Wealth Eazy Show. Well, thank you for sharing that. And there's a couple of things that you touched on that I'd like to highlight. Is one, fear and doubt, I believe, are the biggest destroyers of dreams. And the fact that you took that leap and you never gave up, and you said you lived lean. When you mentioned about living lean, and you started your business from a basement of a Papa John's restaurant, it brought me back to a reminder of Andy Frisella. You know who Andy Frisella is?
Yeah, I don't know him personally, but I
First,
admire his
yeah,
energy.
First Form. He developed First Form. Um, it's a protein supplement company. And he started from, he said he slept on a pissy mattress in the back of the store because he had no money and he had barely any money to stock the shelves. Today, the guy is a multi-millionaire. You should see the guy's car collection, but he wasn't afraid to start. And I think that's the biggest destroyer of people's dream is they're afraid, well, what if I fail? What if I lose money? What are people going to say when I fail? People are going to laugh at me. What are people going to say? And I think that's the difference between a wealthy mindset and a
Right.
poor man's mindset.
Yeah.
Right.
Most people are afraid of other people's opinions or their perception of other people's opinions of them.
Yeah.
Most people are actually not thinking about you. Just an FYI, but that is the thing that keeps most people back. That's the thing that keeps most people from doing what they truly should be doing is other people. And it's a shame.
And you made another comment. You said you're making more in a month than you did in the first few years. And the reason for that, and it's very easy to explain, is that poor people are always thinking about what can I get? A wealthy person's mindset is what can I give? What value can I create for people? And I found I've been in this business now. You said you're 30. I've been in the business 27 years.
Wow.
And what I've learned in this business is the more I help people, the more value that I give, the luckier I get.
You're increasing your luck surface. Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah. When you just go out there and you just give value, create, it comes back to you. Stop worrying about what you can get and start thinking about what can I give? How can I help someone's life? And I love what you do because I listen to you. I listen to your podcasts a lot of times when I'm working at the gym. I listen to you, Jason Lowe. I'm always listening for new things. And I've been in the business 27 years and you said you've been in 9. And I listen to your show and I still learn things even from you.
It's awesome.
So thank you for that. You wrote the book, The And Asset, which I read and I loved it. The whole concept is fascinating and the idea that your dollars can do more than one job at the same time. So break that down for someone who's been told their whole life that whole life insurance is a scam, like Dave Ramsey.
It's interesting because the And Asset is like the beginning of my journey of this epiphany of, well, let's just define what life insurance is. It's a contract between you and an insurance company. Not all contracts are created equal. Not all companies are created equal. For you and me, we represent mostly the idea of mutual companies, and we're representing mostly whole life companies. And so that's understanding how that contract works, and then how you design that contract matters as well. Yeah. And so there's no such thing as a right or a wrong way to do something. It's just understanding first principles. And so in that contract, when you have a contract, you get multiple benefits from entering into that contract. And what I wrote about originally in my book, The End Asset, was the ability for your money to grow and for you to have access to that capital while you get the benefit of lifetime compounding. That for me early on was amazing because I was like, man, I'm young. I could utilize capital to invest in my business and things that I care about. And I still get the benefit of 50 years of money compounding. Like, that's pretty cool. And then the more I've learned, the more I've, done YouTube videos and talked to people, I realized that I was looking at two benefits so there's so many more benefits to life insurance. And the cool nature is the more benefits you understand about life insurance, the more that asset increases value. So while I don't believe we should be selling life insurance from an investment standpoint, I don't believe we should be selling it as a cash value arbitrage. I think majority of people that talk about that are going to be it's just not going to turn out in their favor. Time will tell. But I do believe we should sell this concept of value arbitrage, meaning when you put money into a life insurance contract, the value you're getting is so much greater than any other asset. And that's including borrowing against it. So I'll talk out loud here. If you could put your money into an asset that paid you 4%, but it cost you 5%, and that was the only thing that I told you about the equation, you are not a smart person if you think you're going to arbitrage and make a ton of money compounding at 4% and then paying 5% every time you need to use money. That's an equivalent of you putting your money into an account that has a negative 1%. Just not no one's signing up for a checking account saying I want a negative 1%. But if that 4% had other benefits that made it feel like a 9% account. No, just to be clear, you're only making 4%, but it felt like all the other things that it does, like you value it at 9% when you're with your portfolio. That's an equivalent of you putting your money into a place and actually having value arbitrage. You're telling me I can put my money in a place that's valued at 9% and then I can access other people's money for 5%. Like, why wouldn't I do that? That's value arbitrage. Mm-hmm. And so early on, I think I got so obsessed with just two elements of life insurance. And then the more I've learned, the more mature I get, I'm like, man, we need to be telling the story, this multi-dimensional story. Life insurance is a multi-asset, and that needs to be shared just with more people. And so that's kind of like the development. But life insurance, when set up used properly, is an amazing place to protect your family first and foremost, but protect your dollars and give your dollars more jobs. And those jobs over time compound, and you can do some tremendous things when it comes to planning, when it comes to protection, when it comes to, looking at what the future holds.
I read the book, and what I loved about the book is that how you describe whole life insurance, it not being an investment, but it will enhance everything that you're currently doing. Why do most people get this wrong and refer to whole life as an investment?
Yeah. Most people don't understand what I just mentioned. And so they're trying to find any edge to pitch something. And their whole pitch is, this is better than your investments. And so their job is to badmouth any other investment that you're thinking about putting in. Because think about it. If it's between life insurance or something else, you have to beat down the other options so that they pick life insurance. Mm-hmm. So usually beating down other investment options, and then you're talking about life insurance and trying to overemphasize things, especially when it comes to investments. Because let's be honest, if people just care about the investment aspect, then you don't really care about the death benefit and maybe creditor protection and safety. Like all those things are kind of just minor points. You're looking at like, how do I like show you something that this just makes it really impressive? That's why I think Index Universal Life, while nothing's evil about it, it's a lot easier to manipulate than in, let's say, whole life, just as an example. It's not that it makes it bad. It's easier to manipulate. And so that's why a lot of this investment conversation, a lot of people in that camp will maybe use Index Universal Life because it's easier to, illustrate as an investment. And so that's why, like, if you just go back to incentives, most people, that's the way that they sell these things. And it's a shame. And it's sad. I actually think they would sell more life insurance if they were better educated and they would have happier clients. The difference is they might sell less per client, but they're going to have more clients. That's the difference.
So you're saying in the US, because we don't have IUL here. We have Universal Life. We don't have IUL. And for my listeners, IUL is basically, it's tied to the stock market. I mean, there's a floor you can't lose, but you're also capped on your gains. Now you're saying that a lot of advisors are selling IUL based on glossy illustrations as an investment.
Yeah. And not everyone, but
not everyone. No,
it's being abused.
And
there's a lot. There's a lot. And
those some are giving the others a bad name.
And settlement. Like it's I think we're only the beginning. And are there bad actors in whole life? Absolutely. But let me ask you something. If you're a bad actor, you're not doing the right thing, and you're trying to maybe overpitch life insurance, wouldn't you want to sell the product that gives you the ability to make it more sexy? And so, of course, you're going to potentially lean on things like, you're going to lean on the thing that can be the sexiest. And so that's where in the United States, Index Universal Life gives you those options. Now, we could also have a whole episode on the benefits of Index Universal Life. And so I don't think that's why you have to take everything with a grain of salt. But since your audience is mainly Canadian, I don't know if we need to spend any more time on that. I just think don't buy life insurance as an investment. Understand how it enhances everything else, and you'll value it just as much, if not more, than your investment. So I'm not saying it's secondary to your investments. I actually think it's primary, but they're different. I'm not going to compare an apple and an orange the same way.
Well, that's why you call it the and asset, because you should be investing. You should have your investments in your Roth IRAs and some 401ks. It makes sense up to a certain limit. Like, do your investing, but have that whole life insurance as an and, like, enhance what you're currently doing.
I agree. You said it perfectly.
Nelson Nash wrote the book Becoming Your Own Banker, and my friends and your friends too, Jason Lowe. He's a really big proponent on becoming your own banker, and Jeremiah down in South Carolina, they're the banking bros. They promote IBC. What are your thoughts on infinite banking concept using whole life insurance?
At the time of this recording, if you go to our YouTube channel, you'll see never before seen footage of a conversation I did with Nelson.
Okay.
That it's over 40 minutes long, I think, all in. And so I knew Nelson personally before he passed. Okay. I also, on the record, had an interview with him. And I have nothing but respect for that man and the principles that he holds. And so I think the infinite banking concept in the book are great ways to bring exposure to another way to think about life insurance. And like every good thing, there's things that I'm not a big fan of. What I'm not a big fan of is people using a concept and abusing it. And there are people that use the infinite banking concept or the book to try to convince people to put all their money into life insurance. I think that could be problematic. I think anytime you're trying to use your life insurance policy to buy things, like especially consumption items, not a big fan. And then you have people out there that are, almost gaslighting you and saying, well, this is great for you financially to take your money and then buy a car with it. And you're actually better off than doing it in any other way. And I have no problem with people using their life insurance policies to buy cars if that's what they want to do. But let's make sure the math is right. And in a lot of cases, people are saying half truths and making it feel like it's the entire truth. And I have a big problem with that, probably more than anything. I have a problem with people essentially telling you this is the best way when it's not. It might be the best way economically if you believe that banks are destroying America, but don't tell me that it's the most efficient way for me to take a policy loan if it's really not. It could be, but in a lot of cases, we go back to we overemphasize things. Why? Because we want to make a sale. I get it. We make videos. We make videos because we want to educate people, but we know if more people are educated, they're going to work with us. And so I get that idea. I think we need to be more principled in those areas. So big fan of Nelson, big fan of the Institute. I'm a infinite banking practitioner, mainly out of support just for what Nelson's built. And I have so much love for many of the people in the Institute, but like anything, it can get overhyped and it can be abused. And so that would be like my very political answer there. And I would encourage anyone that wants to check out the newest video I had with Nelson, depending on when this is going to release. You'll get to see one of the last interviews he gave before passing away. And it was just him candidly talking with me before we did our podcast interview. And I was just grateful enough I had a cell phone at the time, hit record, and you'll see him and talk about lots of fun things. And there's a lot of Nelson treasure in that. And so, I don't know if I answered your question, but that's kind of how I'd go about it.
Well, I'm definitely going to check that out this week. I want to see the interview. I read his book. I think he had a great mind. and he developed
Sharp,
something really great.
very sharp mind.
Yeah.
Yep.
But the one thing that I noticed, he strictly uses guaranteed whole life insurance.
Correct.
A lot of advisors you see setting these things up for clients are using IUL.
Yep.
He never used IUL. He strictly said guaranteed whole life insurance. Where do you see problems arising where advisors are setting this up using IUL?
Yeah, I'm going to answer this two ways. Probably in a way that you might not even be on your radar. Just because Nelson said something doesn't make it right or wrong. It's based on his opinion. So he also used policy designs of 40/60, and I would push back, and it's not me going against Nelson. I would just say, like, let's look at the pros and cons of how to design policy. Just because Nelson wrote it in the book doesn't make it the right way and that we can't question it. So I just want to preface that by saying, just because Nelson said it doesn't mean you should just turn on your brain off, but there's a reason why he says the things that he says. So why was he against IUL? The biggest thing is life insurance is not an investment. If you're going to put your money into a contract and have it be foundational as a cornerstone for your family, you want it to be as rock solid as possible. When you build a foundation with your home, you're not necessarily going to try to cut corners to, maybe people do, that's maybe the issue, but you want a rock solid foundation. And IUL, even the biggest proponents of IUL that think you're crazy if you don't do IUL, they will acknowledge that, yeah, you take on more risk, but you're going to get a better result. Well, how do you define risk? That's great. It's like almost saying, like, the faster you speed to something is you're guaranteed to end up in that place. I was on with Todd Langford the other day, and we came up with this analogy that I think was really beautiful. And the analogy was, if you could get on an airplane, and let's say the airplane was 3 hours, but it was guaranteed to land, or it was an hour, but you had a 95% chance of it landing. Some people would take the 95% chance because the odds are in their favor, and they're taking a crazy risk, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Most people, including myself, I won't speak for you, John. Most people, including myself, would say, I'll be on an extra hour just to be buffer. Like, I don't want to
take the guarantee.
Yeah, I'll take the guarantee.
I don't want a 5% risk of crashing.
If life insurance if you're not trying to hit home runs, why would you create more potential flaws? And so, yeah, I think it's just going back to first principles. It's kind of obvious is if you're going to use your policy, especially to use it throughout your life, I would rather do something that was rock solid guaranteed. I would rather put the promises on the insurance company, whereas a lot of universal life, the way that they write it is you're carrying some of the risk, meaning you're just giving the company options. Optionality is really, really important. It's actually smart to the insurance company to try to sell something with as few promises as possible because it gives them flexibility. So I don't even blame them. I'm just thinking, as a consumer, you got to do the exact same thing that banks and insurance companies and Wall Street wants. They want more control. They value options. And I do believe whole life, when set up and used properly, gives you a ton of optionality, but also creates rock solid foundation. And if I'm going to practice the infinite banking concept and finance many things in my life, I just don't want another variable, and it's not worth the potential 1 or 2% higher return, but potential blow up in my face. Yeah. Going back to, I'll take the 3-hour flight versus the 1-hour flight and feel way more safe that what I'm doing is foundational. Because, by the way, I'm not trying to hit any home runs. Going back to life insurance not being an investment, it's very, very important. If life insurance was an investment, I can totally justify, hey, I'm going to take this other risk, but it's not. And if it's not, you're kind of foolish to try to do that. So that's the philosophy. And that's where I believe Nelson saw that. He didn't get caught up in the hype. And that's where I agree with him with that point that he makes. Even though I'm not anti-IUL, if people are going to use the banking concept, especially early on, I think whole life is just a better product now and in the future.
I would agree with you wholeheartedly, because if you're using that for IBC and you are also, if you have an investment portfolio, you're already taking risk there. Why do you need to take risk over here? And that's where the whole life comes in, because like you said, That's that 3-hour flight. You're guaranteed to land. You're not going to have any losses. It's guaranteed to grow every single year. Banks in the US, they own over $200 billion in life insurance, and they buy it for themselves while they're telling their clients not to, or they don't even bring it up. Why do you think that disconnect exists, and how do you expose it in your work?
Well, this is one of the reasons I'm having Barry Dyke come to our event this year, is to
Pirates
talk
of
about,
Manhattan.
yeah, he's the one that really shone a light on BOLI and COLI and what was going on. And all I would say is, if big institutions are doing something, we should pay attention. It doesn't necessarily make it right or wrong, but if banks are putting some of their safest tier 1 assets into bank-owned life insurance, and many corporations are doing the same, maybe we shouldn't call life insurance a scam. Maybe we should have enough humility to lean in and ask, what are the benefits? Maybe it doesn't apply to me, but why would, some of these banks put billions of dollars into life insurance? And then, would any of those things transfer into helping me do what I'm trying to do with my personal family, my personal business? So I think it's a great credibility builder, but I think all it really should do, because we're not banks, all it should really do is it should open our eyes to ask more questions and maybe be willing to seek first to understand.
Most people define success as getting to retirement, stop working, live off their savings. And you push back on that idea. What's the alternative that you're offering for people like your clients?
Well, I just think retirement goes more back to philosophical standpoint. It's like why is retirement the gold standard? Like, let's define retirement. Is retirement being taken out of service? Like, are we going to not provide value in retirement? So I'm not anti getting to a place where you're financially free to do what you want or to create. I just think the essence of doing something that you might not enjoy, to somehow be in a place where you can just not have to work or create value, is a fundamentally flawed concept in general. But I am all about stewarding your resources in a way to give yourself options. But ideally, you're always creating value. You're just doing it on your terms. Whereas early on, I totally respect the fact that, hey, you might have to, there's some trade-offs. You might have to work at a job that you don't love. Doesn't mean you should quit it, but you understand that value proposition. But I would encourage people to, if you don't enjoy your life, don't wait till someday, because that someday is just not a reality for most people. Most people do not enjoy their life, and they're just deferring. And then that day is very underwhelming. And whether they have self-awareness or they're just lying to themselves, they truly did waste time earlier. And the time is one of those things that you'll never get back. So I'm not a big fan of the concept of retirement. I think we should replace it with future cash flow planning. And then future cash flow planning is relevant to whether you're 30, whether you're 20, whether you're 40, whether you're 70. You're planning for future cash flow. But trust me, I do not think 65 is the magical age. I hope to be financially free way before 65. And you better believe I will be working. If I'm still alive at 65, I'll be doing something that creates way more value than I am today, because I have way more wisdom and relationships and experience. So my 65-year-old self probably will provide more value than all of my 30s. All of my 30s. That's pretty crazy to think about. Yeah. But it should be a very exciting time where your 1 year input creates a lot more.
Well, I don't think that retirement is age specific. I think it's income specific.
Fair.
Right. And for me, I'll be 55 this year. I just don't, retirement is just a word in my vocabulary that I don't comprehend. Like I love what I do. And I just find myself, even 27 years in this business, I'm getting better at it.
That's great.
And I just see myself I say I got another 20 years in this. I could do this till I'm 75 and even beyond, and maybe not just fully retire, but slow down. I remember I had a client several years ago. I used to have a place in Sarasota, Florida, and he was also in Sarasota, and I spent my winters there. And we're walking the golf course. This guy was 72 years old,
Wow.
carrying his clubs, and we would walk the course. He would walk so fast, I would literally have to jog to keep up to this guy. This guy would run on a couple of days. He'd run like 10 miles a day. 72 years old, and he had a very large business. And I remember walking with him, and I said, Roger, you've got enough money. Like there's not a chance that you could spend all your money in your lifetime. You're 72. Like, when are you going to slow down or just pass it to your kids? And he pointed over at an oversized gentleman riding in a golf cart. He says, retire, slow down. What? And he points, become that, where I can't walk the course anymore. And then I finish playing golf, and I go and I take a 2-3 hour nap, wake up in time for dinner, watch a show, and go to sleep. He goes, it'll kill me. He goes, I can't.
And stats show that that's accurate.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's crazy.
And this guy has so much money, he couldn't even spend the money. So when you talk income specific, he could retire 10 times over. But it was the social aspect of him going to the office, flying to his factory in China, flying to his factory and his office over in Australia. He loved it. He woke up and gave him purpose. And I think that's, retirement is not a bad word, but there's a lot of people that can't retire, but it gives them purpose.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Well said.
In Canada, we have RRSPs, like our registered accounts is an RSP, registered retirement savings account. And in the US, it's the 401k. And these registered accounts, they're sold as the gold standard of retirement savings. I call them one of the biggest financial scams out there for reasons. I mean, if you're over contributing, if all your money goes into one of these, I think it's one of the biggest scams. I think it can be useful to a certain point. What's your take? And are people saving themselves into a tax trap?
Yeah, I'm pretty consistent. I wouldn't call them a scam, just like I wouldn't call life insurance a scam. But I think you put your money and you get what you put it in. So I think a lot of these accounts restrict control, penalize you for accessing your money early, limit your ability to even take a loan, defer taxes, meaning you're just postponing to an unknown date at an unknown time, where I wouldn't bet on taxes being lower in the future, especially in America with Trump in office and the permanent/temporary taxes being where they are. So that's why I wouldn't go crazy, but I also would never tell someone not to contribute up to the match. I think everyone's got different convictions. There's certain entrepreneurs that shouldn't do the match because they would like every dollar could go into the thing that they're building. And then there's certain people that the match is the greatest ROI that they'll get by a long shot. So I would never tell someone what to do. I just think it would be really valuable to say, okay, what are you doing with your inputs, your time, your money, your relationships, your experience? What outputs do you want to create? And if you actually have this, just like, okay, well, where are you putting your money? What results do you actually want? All right, let's educate you on what results you're going to get, ideally, average, or worst case scenario with each one of these. And I think if people understood how they worked, they would be asking questions, and they might, put in less money. And some people might choose to not put any money in. Some people would choose to put all their money in based on the input to output ratio. And, if I believed that I worked at a job, there wasn't upside, there was no opportunity, I believe that taxes were going to be higher, and I believe that the greatest investment was the stock market or Bay Street, I think those accounts are pretty amazing. I'm literally get to defer my tax, take out money in a lower tax bracket, and earn far greater than what I would have done. Would I also be depressed if I believed all those things? Maybe. I don't know. I don't have any of those values personally. And so what I do with my money is different because of that input output equation. So I think it's important that we educate and have the conversation around that. And then I would use words like scam. Like, I think there are legitimate scams out there. We should look at ChatGPT, like what the definition of a scam is. I'm going to do that right now. Define scam. Because I do think we need to we need to, okay, a scam is a dishonest scheme designed to trick someone into giving away money, personal information, or something of value. It usually involves deception where the scammer pretends to be someone trustworthy, such as a company, government agency, or even a friend to gain a victim's confidence. Common, examples, phishing emails, fake letters. So, I mean, technically with that definition, you could say that maybe some of these accounts define, but I think it's one of those things where I think it's more of just like the input to output ratio is not something I would want to bet on. It's not something I would necessarily want to sign up for. But for some people, it actually could be the greatest thing. I'll give an example. Ted Benna, who's been on my show a couple times, he's the guy that like discovered the 401k. And I asked him, I said, what do you love most about the 401k? And his answer wasn't shocking, but it was really revealing. He said, what I love most about the 401k is it's a forced savings tool that makes it really hard to access your money. And I remember laughing inside because I was like, oh, that's funny. That's exactly why, that's like my biggest reason why I don't like the 401k. But as I was reflecting, I was like, majority of people in America have zero discipline. They would not invest the difference. They would spend the difference. And the idea of them getting money taking out before they could even waste it automatically invested, let's just say average return, it doesn't even matter what return they get. It's just literally money that they can't access. Like that's going to be the only thing that they have in the future. I can understand and appreciate that answer. And the sad reality is for most people, that's actually going to be a benefit versus like control and access to money. Huge benefit for me. Most people would be terrible. They would just take that money and spend it. We have over $1 trillion of credit card debt right now in America. That tells you we're obsessed with spending and consumption. And so that's like, I know that's a long answer.
Yeah.
But like, that's kind of how I think around how I think about these issues. And what I think is a disadvantage could be a great advantage. And it really depends on the person that's you're talking to and their goals, their discipline, and what they're trying to accomplish.
I guess when I use the word scam, I look at the government sometimes maybe in their language talking about these registered plans as a tax savings tool. It is not a tax savings tool.
A lot of cases you'll pay more taxes.
Right.
It's not a savings.
Because what ends up happening is, I would say to a client, would you rather get taxed on a seed or get taxed on the harvest? And they're like, I want to get taxed on the seed. Why would I want to pay tax on the harvest? I'm saying, well, this is exactly what's happening. Is their language could be misconstrued to the ordinary average people as, oh, I'm saving on my taxes. No, you're not. You're kicking the tax can down the road to some future date that I think we can all agree at some point the taxes are going to be higher. And if you want to test me on that, just take a look at government spending. They're going to have to increase taxes someplace to recoup that and keep continuing paying the interest. So if tax rates are going to be higher and you're getting a tax deduction on your contribution, but when you start to take it out, you're going to get taxed on the harvest. You're getting taxed on that bigger amount. And in Canada, if you die with an RSP, let's assume that you had $500,000 in your RRSPs, and you don't have a spouse, you're not married, and you die, that full $500,000 gets added to the tax bill at the end of the year. And anything over $220,000, you're going to get taxed at 54%. So you might have contributed to this RSP. Maybe you put in $5,000 a year or $10,000 a year, and you got maybe a 30% tax deferral. But now you've got 500 and you pass away, that goes to government, and now you're going to pay more than $250,000. So if you actually look at the numbers, and the reason why I call it a scam is because the government gave you back just a little bit, but they took from you more than 54% of your money. That's why I would say this is a scam. Now, where I think, sorry?
Yeah. No. Yeah. I think if people are educated on that, they're going to start thinking differently about what they do.
Now, where I think an RSP or a 401k can really make sense is in the United States, you've got RMDs. Like it was at 73, you have to start taking out. Here it's 72. At 72, your RSP has to get converted to a RIF, an income fund, because the RSP is the savings component. You can contribute to it. Then it gets converted to a RIF. Now it's the income fund. Government says, hey, now you need to start paying us. We want our tax money back. If we can, and I sit with a client, and I say, this is where it's going to become really great for you. If in your high tax years, if you can contribute to an RSP and get your tax deduction while you're in your high earning years, when you get to 71 or 72 into retirement, if we can match your basic personal tax exemption to the RMD, you're going to get that money out tax-free. Now it makes sense, because right now I believe it's like 14 or 15. I think your basic personal tax exemption here in Ontario is like $15,000. And if I was to, inflate that, using 3% for someone's age to 71, I can pretty much get a good figure on what your basic personal tax exemption is and figure out what your RMDs are going to be. And we can match those. Now you got that money out tax-free. So now it made sense, because you got a deduction while you're in your high tax years, but now you're getting that money out tax-free. But we also have to take a look at other things that you're doing. Where's your money coming from that's going to be more tax efficient? And one of the things that I love is using whole life insurance cash value as collateral to borrow against it and supplement some of that retirement income.
It's great. I love it.
What is the biggest misconception that your clients are coming to with, and how do you change their thinking?
I don't know. What's your definition of misconception?
Around investing, maybe, when it comes to insurance, if they listen to a Dave Ramsey show.
Yeah. Trying to think. That's a good question. I think, I don't know if this is the number one thing, but since we do a lot of life insurance, I think the misconception is probably around insurance being an investment or a scam or a terrible place to put your money. And so I think it's education around that. And then the other thing that I think is a huge misconception is most of the world, the financial world's focused on growth and net worth. And yet we even talk about retirement or future cash flow. Like, what you're really saving and investing for is future income. And we need to really lean into the distribution side of that. And I'm just amazed on how little people understand in general like just across the board, financial professionals included, how little they actually understand the distribution. And it seems so crazy to me, because it's like almost taking off an airplane and not really knowing how to land. And I just think that's kind of wild. And so, yeah, I think there's going to be a lot more conversations. I do think there's going to be a change in language, but it takes more brain power to think through the distribution conversation, where it's easy to say my net worth is higher, that equals good, or 8% is better than 7%. Like, that's easy to understand, rightfully so, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get the best income. And you're saving and delaying gratification. Why? To translate that into income. And so I think between that and then just people's perceptions around what is life insurance, how it can work for them, are the two biggest misconceptions.
I had Tom Wall on, and one of the things that he mentioned, and we both agree on, is there is so much information out there on how to build wealth, how to create a portfolio, where you should put your investments. But try to find information on how you get the money out. And you mentioned distributions, how you get that income. Trent Fortner, my mentor, and you had him on your show, I believe it was last week. He made a really good comparison. He said, if I want to climb Mount Everest, I'm going to hire a Sherpa, and I'm going to get the Sherpa to help me go up the mountain. But where's the risk? Is the risk going up the mountain, or is the risk coming off the mountain? And more people will die coming down the mountain because no one's showing you how to come off that mountain. And it's like when you mentioned like distributions, like it's very easy to show somebody how to structure a portfolio and invest and save. That's great. But now when you get to retirement, you need that distribution. Where's the information on how to tax efficiently get that out and making sure that you don't outlive your money?
Yeah.
I think there's between you and me here in Canada and Tom and Trent and guys like that, there needs to be more awareness on not so much on the savings component, it's the income component. How do you get that money out? Right.
Agreed. Thinking with the end in mind.
Yeah. What does Better Wealth look like in practice for someone who wants to work with you, and who's your ideal client?
Yeah, our ideal client is someone who wants a better way, whether that's better retirement, an entrepreneurial investor that wants a better way to invest or start their business, or someone that just wants a better way to protect their income. So it's someone that's genuinely wanting a better way and is open or wants to look at how life insurance can integrate into that. That's where we specialize in. Mm-hmm. And we're also doing a ton of education. So if you're into podcast or YouTube and you're a fan of what John's up to, you might enjoy some of our content as well. And we're on BetterWealth on YouTube and on the And Asset. So I think of BetterWealth as like a education company, and then also helping people integrate life insurance into their life to make it better and more efficient.
And it goes back to my comment earlier. You know, you said you're an education company. You're giving. You're creating a value for people.
We're trying. We're trying to give more than we take. And it's
good content.
Been fun to see the momentum.
I love listening to it. It's great content. What's the one financial move you wish more people understood and implemented early?
I wish more people bet on themselves and align their time and money investing in their greatest asset, which is their ability to create value and earn money.
Yeah. You've got your life insurance summit coming up soon in Nashville in June, from the 15th and 17th. I know I'll be there, and I'm trying to bring a couple of my junior guys.
Thank you.
Tell us about that and who should go.
You said it yourself.
For advisors, right?
Yeah, it's for advisors, or if you're a life insurance nerd, you can come.
Yeah.
The
great
theme
business
is
networking.
The theme is life insurance apologetics, which I want people to understand why life insurance is a great thing. I don't want it just because I'm motivational. I'm telling you, I want you to understand why. If someone came to me and said 1 + 1 does not equal 2, I don't need a motivational talk to stand up. They're delusional. I find that we need to do a better job in our industry and profession to actually know why we believe what we believe. So that's the theme. I'm getting the best of the best, Tom Wall being one of them. They're going to be there. Great networking, great food, great conversations. My goal is for people to leave with some really good takeaways, but really good contacts and connections. I think you could fill your entire podcast with great guests just from this one event. And that's my goal. And that's why I'm honored that you're going to be there. Hopefully bring many Canadians with you. And it's fun. It's fun. It's a lot of work, but I look back, there's always like the month heading up to the event. I'm like, this is going to be the last event. What am I doing? Why am I doing this? And then after the event, I'm like, yeah, when are we, not that I've ever given childbirth, but I think it's probably similar from what I've heard. I'm just, and so, yeah, I'm grateful for it, and we'll keep doing it until we have a massive failure one year that wipes us out, and then we might not do it anymore.
Honestly, I mean, it just
so far so good though.
It seems to be growing each year.
Yeah, it is. It is. And it's going to be our best year yet.
Amazing. Your book, The And Asset. How can people get it? Is it on Amazon?
Yeah, it's on Amazon. We actually have an Audible version now.
Okay, wonderful.
I would encourage you to get the Audible version, because I just think it's sometimes helpful, sometimes to read and listen. And I'm working on my next book coming soon. So I'll make sure to hit you up and come on the show soon. I won't be soon. My hope is to write it this year and hopefully promote it next year.
I've got my second book. I wrote my first book. This one here, Wealth Without Wall Street, Taking Back Control of Your Money in a Rigged Financial System. I published this in 2024, and I just finished writing my second book. It's actually the editing is all done. We're just working on the book cover design. I'm hoping to have that out in the next 3 to 4 weeks. That one's called Your Home is Not an Asset. It's about creating wealth through liquidity, not equity.
It's good.
Yeah. So I'm really excited for that book. How can people find you?
Yeah, best places on YouTube. If you just look us up, BetterWealth on YouTube, and then I betterwealth.com is our website, and you can email me at caleb@betterwealth.com and tell me that you listen, like you found us on here, and whatever I can be of service and add value, I'm in.
Amazing. Caleb, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate you. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in June in your conference in Nashville.
Cannot wait. John, awesome. It's going to be a lot of fun. I appreciate what you're building, and excited, very excited for what's to come.
Yeah. Thank you very much. You too. Folks, that's all for today. If you like this episode, please subscribe and share it, and share with other people, and get some more content and get some education on how to create more wealth. That's all for today. Take care of your wealth and your health.